This is the Bringing Business to Retail podcast with today's guest, founder of Modi Made, Anna Wythes.
Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast on SelenaKnight.com. Stay ahead of the competition by opening your doors to business experts so you can learn, grow, and be inspired. Passionate about bringing business strategies to independent retailers, please welcome your host, Selena Knight.
Well, hello there and welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Last week, I had the gorgeous Sarah McNally on the show, and you guys love real retailer stories. We got loads of feedback that you loved hearing all about Sarah's journey, and a big shout out to Lynn from Just My Type Letterpress, who sent me an email saying, "I'm listening to this week's podcast with Sarah McNally, and my story mirrors hers exactly. I'm 19 minutes in and I had to pause it and email a quick thank you for getting her on your show. I started out in letterpress just out of design school doing wedding invites, and now I've got a little shop with my presses in it. So thank you. I'm off to listen to the rest." Thank you so much for sending me that email, Lynn. It is those kinds of emails and the reviews that you guys leave over in iTunes and Stitcher that make this show worthwhile. And we love hearing from them. I actually share them around with the team when we get these reviews and we get the emails, and we all love reading them. So today, I'm mixing up the schedule a little bit. I was going to record an episode for you that was just me with some business strategy, but I thought, you know what? You guys loved Sarah's episode so much, I'm going to share another one with you. A few weeks ago, I interviewed one of our group coaching students, Anna. She has a beautiful business called Modi Made, which is an independent enterprise that supports Cambodian communities as they empower themselves through trade. And ethical fashion and slow fashion, they are such booming industries at the moment. It is so fantastic to see businesses who can actually empower other people. And just a quick heads up that if you're interested in coming and joining us in our 6-month small group coaching program, it's called Accelerate, the Retail Growth Program. The next round closes on the 30th of June. That's 30th of June, Australian time. So if you're ready to get the pointy end of this year working for you, head over to SelenaKnight.com/accelerate and you can see if this program is for you. But hurry up because this round closes on the 30th of June. Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Today, we have a real retailer, somebody just like you who is out there doing amazing things. I want to introduce you to Anna Wythes. Now, she has an e-commerce business that focuses on ethical trade and sustainable products, but she's also a primary school teacher. Now, almost 10 years ago, she had the amazing opportunity to spend a year living in Cambodia and volunteering at a language school in a very small rural village. And from there, she took such a passion that she decided to create her own business. So welcome to the show, Anna.
Thanks so much for having me, Sal. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for asking me.
I am so excited to hear the story because you've just come back from Cambodia.
That's right. I get over there to go and visit the makers. So I was over just in February, and I go and visit the teams and get on the ground and basically see what they're doing, ask the questions, see the real story behind how the products are being made that I'm selling. And that way I can bring that story back and share it with our purchasers and followers and things, and really show them the transparency, I guess, behind what we're doing and what we're selling.
How did you choose Cambodia? Of all the countries in the world, what made you choose Cambodia?
Yeah, well, I originally was a beginning teacher and was teaching, and still am, teaching in Western Sydney. So huge diversity of cultures there. Coming from rural Australia, I grew up basically with the general white Anglo-Saxon community, had no interest in it. But when I taught in Western Sydney, I really, I guess, came across some experiences that were pretty raw. One in particular with a student who'd come from a refugee background and had some trauma at school. And so seeing him go into that really made me realised that I had no understanding of anything outside of this little bubble of where I had grown up. So I had decided that, once I was able to take a year's leave, I was going to go to a country where I could really learn about it, get on the ground, experience it, kind of ask these questions. And to do that, because I'd only travelled overseas with support, not on my own, I was going to take 12 months. So really needed to find somewhere that I felt comfortable. And Cambodia really connected with me. I'd not been there before, but I had a very good friend who absolutely loved it. At that stage of my life, I was all into, Buddhist things and that kind of thing. So I had that connection as well. But then their recent history of the regime that they'd been through with the Khmer Rouge and that kind of thing, I really felt that these people had such a recent history that they were coming out of, and were able to find that strength that, I thought that was a great place close to home where I could go and learn, but also as a teacher could go and actually share my skills so that my time would be a benefit to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And you're a mum. Did you have kids at this point?
No.
Okay.
No, I was about 26 or 27 when I went over.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've got 2 children now. Who came about 3 years after I returned from Cambodia. Obviously the first then. And doing it as a single mum. And my son is nearly 7 and my little girl has just turned 2 as well. So since they were born, it kind of, like I work around them and the family and being able to include them in what I'm doing with my work as well.
And do you take them to Cambodia on your maker trips?
On the last trip they did come with me. Yeah.
And how did they find it?
Absolutely loved it. Once I got over the jet lag, we did those awful night flights that, you try and make it a bit cheaper. But once they got over the jet lag, they really got into the whole experience and the difference of the culture. They really, they loved going on the tuk-tuks and meeting these people and playing with the kids as they came. I actually had the benefit of my mum and dad coming with us as well. So, obviously with a 2-year-old, sometimes they come to my markets, but it's just not manageable to have meetings and have a 2-year-old. So mum and dad came with me to be on board when I was doing the actual meeting side of things. But my 7-year-old, nearly 7, he came out with my father and I to some of the makers and got into the village and just had an absolute ball playing with the children, just experiencing and seeing that. And it's really lovely at that age, even though they're experiencing and seeing the poverty that's over there, they're in the same way quite blind to it as well. So they're really seeing the beauty of the culture and the people that are there, and really taking an appreciation for those things as well.
Oh, I'm sure that will stay with him for the rest of his life.
Oh, definitely. He wasn't ready after 3 weeks. He really wasn't ready to come home. He definitely settled in and, was ready for the next trip.
So tell us then, how did you go from teacher and volunteer to e-commerce business owner?
Well, when I was in Cambodia, I did all my volunteer work with an organisation, Chum Creole Language School. So they're not only a charity English language school, but also a community development organisation as well. So what I actually did, I didn't go in and teach English. I did a lot of facilitating of the teacher training programs, which at that point they had Rotary involved. So the Rotary volunteers had come over and set things up. So when they had finished their short time there, I kind of picked up those programs, also started some of my own. So got really involved, and through these programs we had helped support the teacher salary so that they were paid a higher wage. Now, of course, that then needs funding. So when I had to come back to my permanent teaching job, I only had 12 months leave. So had to come back, and to me, I needed to be able to fund that. And so at that point, really the logical way was to be able to just set up a little business selling things at markets and doing in-home kind of learning experiences, but also having that direct opportunity for people to purchase the products from Cambodia. So after having lived over there and knowing what was around, the businesses that were running, ethically and well run, I was able then to select products that I really thought were tailor-made to the Western community rather than your general touristy type looking products. Yeah, so we have quite a different range, and it's all hand selected direct from the makers and the enterprise who I work with.
I was just thinking, you said, it seemed logical for me to set up an e-commerce store, and I was thinking, actually, there are so many other things you could have done.
Well, I guess
you could have done tours, but you chose products.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, so what are some of the obstacles that you found? Because obviously you didn't have any retail experience beforehand, and you still have a job. So what are some of the obstacles that you found that you never would have thought existed?
Oh, golly. Where do you start? Is that what you say? No, well, I guess I have always remained on the micro business side, which has meant that I've been able to manage it with my teaching career, with having children, those kind of things. But at the same time, I've set up these amazing partnerships that have allowed me to have that contact and communication with them. I think in the beginning, the hardest thing was not only the constant contact with them when they're not native English speaking, so English is their second language. So thank you to the internet when I wasn't over in country. But again, it also creates those difficulties as well. So I would get over there every 6 months. We'd do a lot of work on the ground in terms of product selection, things like that. A lot of back and forth with the emails worked really well. In the recent years, we've started to look at, I don't use Skype so much, purely because Cambodia internet was always shocking. So there was always that really bad time delay, which, just the lag made it very difficult to have conversations. A lot better probably in the last 18 months, 2 years. So we can kind of use that mode of communication a lot more now. But I think when it actually comes to setting up an e-commerce store, I think I've done it a lot of teaching myself. And I really think that was always quite difficult because I never quite knew if I was doing it right. And so I always doubted that side of what I was doing. So, once I kind of got engaged with these online communities and things like that, it really helped to be able to get that support just to back up what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just thinking when you're saying Skype takes up a lot of bandwidth when it comes to internet. And we find that Zoom is much better. And even something as simple as Facebook Messenger, like the bandwidth it seems to take is so much less. So when I'm talking to people in countries where the internet's not so great, especially places like Bali, then something as simple as Facebook Messenger does seem to be able to connect a lot better.
That's it. Yeah, and we've swapped to Facebook Messenger now, and it's mostly now, probably in the last 3 years, they've got smartphones. So they haven't always, they're that little step behind in technology and stuff. So, in the last 18 months, I've been using Facebook Messenger with the woman who I worked most directly with the Cambodian Women's Support Group. And that does work a lot better. Yeah. I think too, with you saying about Zoom, one of the hardest things though is the people that I've worked with, I've found it has always been a challenge to learn something new in the scope of technology. And that, I must say, is probably one of the biggest things when I've worked directly with Kanari from the Cambodian Women's Support Group. I've done a lot of business work to support them. they're not my organization, but I've helped to set it up and done a lot of business work with them. And that's probably the hardest thing, because we've grown up in a world of technology, whereas in Cambodia, it is really only, the last 10 years, and not even that, really the last 5 years, where all of a sudden people are starting to have computers at home. So it kind of doesn't come naturally to them, whereas it might to us just to go on and experiment. And we know that this button does that, and that's the tab you click. So that's kind of been quite difficult too.
And that is a huge hurdle, especially for e-commerce. And when you're trying to source products overseas, that is a huge barrier that you have to overcome, because you can't just fly over every second week and have a conversation.
That's it. When you're paying, between, that kind of $1,000 mark just to get to Cambodia. If you're one of these people who work in projects in Africa or places like that, it's incredibly expensive. So, it is. I kind of have resorted to using YouTube tools a lot with her, training programs. So if I can't teach her how to use Squarespace, if that's what we're putting the website on, then I'll find that the YouTubes that I can then work her through. And she's lucky, her 16-year-old daughter is in that generation of, it doesn't matter that they've only had really technology over there in the communities for 10 years, but that generation is just pick it up fast. Yeah.
So what do you think the biggest changes that you've made in your business have been? I'm interested about the fact that you said that you've run this as a micro business. Do you see it being anything more? Like, why have you decided to stay so small? Surely if you made more money, you could make more impact.
I think for me, I have stayed small to juggle everything. I'm one of those people. I've got a lot on my plate, and have gone through some quite personal things in my relationship, becoming a single mum and those kind of things. And so, I think personally that's why I have stayed small. But it also has allowed me just that direct connection, which if I grew, yes, we would be selling more, we'd be having a lot more connection as well. But I think it's more my lifestyle and juggling things that's probably kept me small at this point, rather than not having the know-how or things like that as well. It's kind of, I guess, to me, having begun the business as a hobby way, so I kind of identified the level of financial need that we needed to bring in, and that's kind of where we sat, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And do you see it as your kids get older and you have more bandwidth? Do you see this growing?
Yeah. So that's where I'm at the moment. I've kind of given myself, because I'm a teacher, I'm permanent. I'm lucky enough to be able to work part-time for the next few years. So now that I've got my single mum, solo mum life in line, and that's all working well, and Artie's, she's old enough to be in daycare and those kind of things, and I still have that opportunity to spend time with her at home. That's where I'm seeing, hopefully, planning for the growth now to happen, so that by the time I need to go back to work full time, I've got the growth there, the systems there in place to be able to kind of run through, so that it's all set up. We're at a size that is sustainable and still makes it worthwhile. To be doing it.
So do you think, just what you said there, you fully intend on going back to work? So do you see putting this into place so that it basically runs by itself?
That's what I'm going to have to
be very hands off.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, looking at building that growth, and hopefully over the next 2 years being able to set up a team behind it, using virtual assistants, those kind of things, to basically be able to follow the plan, set it up, and still keep things turning over.
I think that is a fantastic way to, like, an outsider's way of looking at a business, because too often as business owners, because we create something that we're very passionate about, it's very hard to step back and not get absorbed by the whole business and it become our whole identity. Whereas you're setting up a business that you don't even really want to have to spend a lot of time in. So you're setting it up in a way that means that you're not going to have to be immersed. I think it's a great lens to look at a business through.
Yeah, that's kind of the plan, I hope. Like, because I have these two areas, well, three areas, of course, that I'm so passionate about: my teaching, my children, and then the business side of things as well. And if I don't set it up so that it's going to be sustainable when I have to go back to work full time, and yeah, being a teacher is a massive load. It's not just your 9 to 3, let's say it's 8 till 5, 7 days a week, some days, especially during, the busy times with reports and things. So I really have to get those things in place, because yeah, to me, teaching is the tool to be in, working with that younger generation, bringing them through as really active citizens and community members who have that mind that's kind of switched into social justice and things. And I really feel that is very important for me to be able to continue that. But then on the other side, if we can't support people in, countries where their own society and structures don't support them. We can't do that and give them that opportunity if we're not selling their products. So it's all great and well to be able to say, let's set them up a business. But if they don't actually have a channel to sell those products, either in their own country, through meeting a demand at home, or internationally in countries like Australia, where we have that income to be able to buy ethically and support through purchasing, then where are we left, kind of thing. It's not the work to help create opportunity for these people. It shouldn't be about handouts, and I'm so glad things have moved away from that now, because it really needs to be about teaching them the tools and giving them the opportunity to grab hold of those opportunities to create their own futures for them, have a say in where they want their lives to go and things like that.
I mean, we could do a whole episode on handouts, so we won't go down that rabbit hole. But I think what we sometimes forget when we give money to other people is that as humans in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one of the things that we need to have to be happy is fulfillment.
Yeah.
And for most people, you don't get fulfillment sitting on the couch, having people give you money. You do it because you either do a task, or you create something, or you do something for community. You have something in your life that actually fills you up. So
that's it.
I think that is I think it's great that we're moving to actually empowerment rather than just subsidization.
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. That's it, and even, I just think you hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, completely.
Okay. You are juggling a lot of stuff. So tell me some of the resources that you found in order to focus on getting stuff done.
Okay. Right.
Are you making a to-do list over there?
I was, as you quickly said that, I went, right, quick, write down Trello, write down this.
You can just tell us, you don't have to write them down.
That's so that I don't get talking and then lose what I was going to say. So with, I've started using Trello, and that has helped me to get everything down. I've worked with virtual assistants on and off, and so it really helps me to kind of structure and put things in place. So that's kind of one of the tools. That's a tech tool, I guess, that I use. I'm very much a pen and write things down person. I have all my post-it notes on the wall, blue tacked up in front of me, of things to do, and your hierarchy of the system. So I still work very much on that. I have pen and paper calendar. I have not been one who uses the tech calendars and puts lots of things in. I'd much rather be able to come and see it all written out.
Yeah, that's why we send out books.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you get more out of writing than you do just typing.
That's it. And I've really found with your books and doing the course, being part of the group, and getting the books, you just sit down and you scribble through it and highlight where you need, whereas it's very difficult to do that on a screen.
Yes.
No,
I'm
definitely.
reading I'm reading this book at the moment. It's called The 21-Day Miracle, and it's how you can get stuff achieved in 21 days. And it's really, really good. But as a Kindle book, I'm finding it difficult because he says, now go and do this. And I'm like, well, I'm in bed. I can't go and do that. I have to bookmark that page, continue reading, and then come back and find
Yep.
time when I have time. Whereas if it was a book, I would just go, even if I was in bed, I would write some notes down or make some notes for myself. So I 100% agree with you. And it's scientifically proven that if you actually write rather than type, the neural pathways fire in your brain. So
That's right.
I am with you on pen and paper, she says, as she looks around her office and sees a lot of paper.
Yep.
So what else do you do to keep focused? You've got Trello, you've got writing down, you've got your action plans.
Yeah, I guess a routine is a really good one as well. So on the nights when I don't accidentally fall asleep putting my son to bed, which, that might be 2 nights a week sometimes. But I've just got a good routine of coming out, grabbing the laptop out and working through. And I often find, once I sit down and get into it, and I've got my little to-do list, I can tick those things off as I run through. And just kind of do that 2 nights a week. And then I do have one day where I'm at home and in the office. And so again, it's just, running through the tasks, pulling this, the sticky notes down off the wall as I get them done. What else have I got? I've got a whiteboard with a big, huge planning brainstorm of everything.
Great.
And then I've also got a grid whiteboard, which I set up a while ago. And that's kind of got my overall, all of my ideas, my wish list, I guess, in the next 12 months, these are the things that I really want to achieve. And so it's not just my goals, but it's, things like, I'm just having a look, like toy testing. I've got to get some toys tested. So I've just written toy testing by the end of and got a date. So I haven't broken it all down there, but it's just that visual reminder that I can glance at and go, oh, yep, I've got to get to that. So that's, again, a lot of those visual strategies as well. When I'm working on my computer, I don't do emails first thing, and I don't do Facebook first thing as well. I don't
Don't go down the rabbit hole of Facebook.
Oh, that's it. Exactly. Because, even if you're on there doing, marketing stuff like commenting on, different things or commenting on events that you're involved in coming up, doing that kind of stuff, you can just spend so long on there doing that. So I try and leave all that until later in the day. Because if I don't, all of a sudden, what I thought might have been a half an hour task is all of a sudden 2 hours and it's 11 o'clock. So, I try and put all those things aside and just open up, what I need.
I love the idea of sticky notes as a to-do list, because as they disappear off the wall, it's a vision. You feel so much more accomplished than sitting there looking at your list and crossing things off, because the list is still there even if you've crossed things off. Whereas if you have them on a wall, then as the wall starts to appear, you feel like you've accomplished a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And I will say, to do that, I run 2 columns of my sticky lists, and one is I just thought of that, put it up, and the other one is that, these are what I'm doing, take them off. Yeah.
We use that in Trello. We have the brilliant ideas board. And so with a lot of my one-on-one clients, when we first start together, everybody has great ideas, especially entrepreneurs. So I make them create a Trello board called Your Brilliant Ideas.
Yeah.
And they have to put any great idea on there, and they can't do anything with that idea for 48 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Because inevitably 48 hours later, it's not such a brilliant idea. But, someone goes, oh, I should create an ebook. And then they spend the next 2 days creating an ebook, and then they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, I need to take
it's
the book out of your leaf and page out of your book. I'm bad at that sometimes. Yeah.
So if you had to give a piece of advice to someone who is starting out an e-commerce business with the intention of actually helping a community in the process, what piece of advice would you give them?
Very closely look at what you want to spend your money on. So look at what platform you want to use for your e-commerce store, and do your research beforehand. Really make sure if you're choosing. I began first with free sites, a free website one, which was great but very limited. So when there was no money in the budget, that was really good, because when I actually then so I started with just the website and then added the shop in, which was $15 or something a month. So it was really great just to get it in the door. After a while, I had decided to turn to WordPress. Now, that was beyond my scope of being able to do things. So, of tech-wise, so I went and got someone to design it, and the biggest waste of money. I'm going to honestly say
thousands of dollars.
It was the biggest waste of money. And I think I had done that because on all of these, online communities, whatever, everyone's saying WordPress, WordPress, WordPress. But really, to me, something more like Shopify or Squarespace is so much easier and less time consuming to run.
Yep, I agree with you. WordPress is very tech oriented. I think you have to be very tech savvy to build a very good WordPress website.
Yeah. But not only that, but to understand all about the plugins that you need, the security that you need, getting your certificates and backups. That's it. Your hosting. You have to, unless you actually have the skill to be able to manage every aspect of that tech, and not just watch a video, you actually have to know how to do it. I found it was something that I couldn't just teach myself.
And I think people get lulled into the fact that it's free, and I'm doing air quotes around free.
It's not.
Because
it's not at all.
It's not.
No, I found to be able to put on the security and things like that, I ended up going to a tech advisor after I was handed this website that didn't have security, that didn't have these things that I, had just assumed, even though we sat down and had the planning meeting on with the developer and stuff. When I actually got it, I was like, well, where's the security on it? Where's this? Where's that? And that was really only me learning about that through the creation process. So then when I went and found another guy who was helping me, he was like, right, we need this, this, and this, and it's going to cost you this, this, and this to, annually to have that on there. And I was like, well, where's this? Oh, and it's free once it's up. You spend all this money, and not the case whatsoever. So go for Shopify, go for Squarespace. Definitely, much easier. So many things integrate with them these days. Like I've just swapped over to Klaviyo, and it's so easy to do it with Shopify. You plug it all in, and it's all, it just supports. Really.
And I think that's one of the reasons we love Shopify. I've built a lot of e-commerce sites on a lot of different platforms. And what I love about Shopify is you can have a beautiful website with all the optimization. Everything is designed to integrate with it.
Yeah.
And yes, you are paying for it, but you're paying for the ease and the convenience and for something that is constantly updated. Whereas WordPress, if you have a plugin that someone doesn't update to the latest version of WordPress, your whole website can go down.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. And, with you saying, yes, you're paying for Shopify, what is it? Let's say if you're on the lowest plan, though, you're only looking at $400 to $500 a year. A year. That's it.
Where a couple of sales, really.
That's it. And when you go and spend the money to get a WordPress site developed for you, you're looking at 5 times that, easily. So it's definitely what I would recommend. And
I think you're 100% right with understand what you want to spend your money on, because it is so easy in those early days to get caught up in the excitement and the hype of a new business, and you spend money on logos and business cards and tech people to build you websites, when really, like you said, a Squarespace, Shopify website, as long as you've got that and some product, that's all you need to begin with. You don't necessarily need a logo to start a business. You don't need a business card to start a business.
And, if you do need a logo, go and have a look on Canva and tailor make something out of there to suit your feel, your vibe, and do that. As long as you're happy that it reflects your business and what your business is all about, you can do it yourself. If you're really at that point that, money is an issue, there are these marvelous tools like Canva that you can just, you can really, do these things yourself. It makes it so easy now.
That is one very prudent piece of advice. Now, I do see that if people want to come and watch your video series that you created in Cambodia with the makers on your last tour, they can actually sign up to your newsletter and be able to watch. Is there 3 videos?
That's right. No, we've actually got 7 in there.
Oh, you've got 7 now.
Yeah. So basically, it's a way that listeners can sign up and join Modi Made support crew. And then basically the video series detail the works with our makers in Cambodia and reveal some of the areas that as consumers we need to be asking questions about. So basically, it's a tool to kickstart your listeners on a fresh journey of learning and discovery, showing them how to become connected to products that we buy rather than just passive consumerism. Yeah.
And so where can we sign up for that series?
Sure. So on the homepage, just flick to modimade.com.au and you've got our title, photo, and then it's just the little box underneath it. Yeah, it's really easy. It says sign up.
Awesome. So if you are interested in seeing the behind the scenes, the makers, the trip to Cambodia, or you're just interested in some beautiful, ethically made, sustainable fashion, head over to modimade.com.au and we will make sure to share that link inside the show notes. Thank you so much, Anna, for coming on and sharing your story. I know that for me, I love hearing real life stories, like not just the gloss and the glamour and the glitz and all the, for you could have came on and said, oh, I travel around the world and I do this and I do this while juggling my family. But you actually showed us that running a business is not the easiest thing in the world. And I think sometimes we just need a reality check away from the social media show reels to realize that running a business is tough, but it can be very rewarding, not just for you and your family, but in this case, for the environment and for a whole country.
That's it, exactly. And if you get something out of it and you're passionate about it, you can definitely make it work in any busy lifestyle, especially with all the tools and things that are out there to be able to help these days. Thanks so much for having me, Sal.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selinaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selinaknight.com and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.